Welcome. My name is Dr. Joshua Malley. I'm a board-certified ophthalmologist and vitreoretinal surgeon in Sarasota, Florida. I'm also the founder and CEO of Malley Enterprises, and I serve as the Retina Medical Director of the Macular Degeneration Association. Thanks again for joining me on another exciting episode of the Retina Project. So today, the title of the show is, What's the Deal with High-Dose Eylea? There's a lot of buzz recently I've been seeing in the literature, as well as in meetings and other forums about the potential of high-dose Eylea. And so I thought it'd be nice to talk about a show where I go into a little bit more details and kind of explain that to my colleagues and peers and let the community know about, what is the deal with high-dose Eylea and how it could be a potential game changer in our clinical practice. So the first thing I want to talk about is, what is the actual dose of the high-dose Eylea? So as we all know, the regular dose of Eylea is 2 milligrams. And so the high dose that's being studied right now of high-dose Eylea is actually 8 milligrams, so 4 times the dose, essentially. So that's the first thing to keep in mind. The second thing to keep in mind is, does it actually work? Does it actually have efficacy benefits? And what we saw from the phase 2 trials in patients with wet age-related macular degeneration, at the primary endpoint at 16 weeks, patients that were either in a high-dose Eylea group of 8 milligrams versus a regular dose Eylea group of 2 milligrams, we saw that in regards to retinal anatomy and fluid status, 43% of patients had no fluid at that visit versus 26% of patients that had no fluid at that visit on regular dose 2 milligram Eylea. So clearly there is some sort of possible efficacy benefit there in regards to retinal anatomy. Now there are ongoing phase 3 trials looking at the potential of possibility of longer durability, potentially every 12 weeks or 16 weeks with the high dose group, so that we may see a possible durability benefit as well with ongoing phase 3 trials. And then finally, the one thing that I'm really kind of want to focus on, and of course is a concern when we talk about a higher dose treatment like this, is safety. And luckily what we saw in the phase 2 trials was there was no new safety signals between a high dose 8 milligram Eylea versus a 2 milligram dose, which is nice to see. I think that's very reassuring. The adverse events were comparable between the groups, and especially there was no evidence of inflammation or vasculitis in either group. So certainly I think that's very reassuring to retina specialists to see that despite a higher dose of 8 milligrams, we're not seeing any sort of safety signals or things to be worried about in regards to the safety of a higher dose. So certainly, I think it's a very exciting treatment option potential in the future once we get more data in from the phase 3 trials. And so certainly you'll probably be seeing this more in the headlines in the months to come as we get more data readouts in regards to the efficacy and the additional safety monitoring of it. But be on the lookout for the high-dose Eylea in your patients. Potentially could be a game-changing treatment for both wet AMD and diabetic macular edema. So I hope you enjoyed the episode and stay tuned for another great episode of the Retina Project.